Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. This is the conversation that we need to be having. The neocons, the Fox News never-Trumpers are going to continue to push the anti-Trump narrative. But the conversation needs to revolve around one name and one name alone, as I've been saying, Mitch McConnell. And you might be unaware of it, but there's a Senate leadership vote that's right around the corner. And Mitch McConnell is trying to rush that leadership vote before the final midterm Senate results are tallied, because he has one goal and one goal alone and one interest, and that's for him to remain speaker. He doesn't want new conservative faces that represent a different interest joining the Senate and voting against him. He wants the current Senate, which is filled with neocon Mitch McConnell allies. He wants them to vote him back in. He wants to subvert the will of the people, subvert the will of the Republican base. And that right there is the story, because that's what he's been doing. And all you gotta do is follow the money. Blake Masters, who unfortunately, as of right now, is looking like he is not going to pull through in Arizona, is sounding the alarm and blasting Mitch McConnell during this interview. And Blake Masters is absolutely right. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So I think the word is saboteur. You know, we've spoken extensively of what Liz Cheney is doing to aid Democrats, what Lindsey Graham has done to aid Democrats, and especially Joe Biden with that ridiculous federal abortion ban stunt that he pulled a couple weeks ahead of the election. We spoke about Karl Rove spending $2 million in ad buys promoting Democrat Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania. But at the end of the day, that's small stuff. The guy who controls the purse, the Republican funding purse, is Mitch McConnell. He's the guy who sends money to the most important races. He's the one injecting capital, which is supposed to be on behalf of GOP voters, but instead, Mitch McConnell spends the money the way that he sees fit, fighting America First influence from gaining ground in the GOP. The GOP old guard guarding the remnants of whatever's left, and Blake Masters put him on blast.
Incompetent. But you know what else is incompetent, Tucker? The establishment, right? The people who control the purse strings. Senate Leadership Fund, Mitch McConnell. McConnell decided to spend millions of dollars attacking a fellow Republican in Alaska instead of helping me defeat Senator Mark Kelly. Had he chosen to spend money in Arizona, this race would be over. We'd be celebrating a Senate majority right now. And so my message to the people of America, my message to actually the Republican senators, hopefully my future colleagues, let's not vote Mitch McConnell into leadership. He doesn't deserve to be majority leader or minority leader. You get a choice. You can stand with your constituents and stand with Americans, or you can stand for Mitch McConnell. Tucker, if I'm lucky enough to represent Arizona in the U.S. Senate next year, I think it's clear where I'll stand.
Let me just ask you really quick, why wouldn't, he spent money on primaries in Alaska. This is one of the big Senate races in the country, and he avoided it. Why wouldn't he support you, I wonder?
I will leave it to the viewer to decide whether it is just malice or whether it's gross incompetence. But clearly Mitch McConnell cares about Mitch McConnell and less about a Senate majority or the people of America. I think we need a change. That's why I ran for office. And one way or another, change is coming.
And Blake Masters is 100% correct. Just think about that first thing that Blake Masters said there. Instead of infusing capital in one of the most important races, the Blake Masters versus Mark Kelly race, which the Senate majority hangs on, and a race that became incredibly competitive the closer we got to election day, at least in terms of the polls, instead of spending money there, he was spending money in Alaska to fight Senator Lisa Murkowski's opponent, which happens to be a Republican, in Kelly Tshibaka. Instead of letting Alaskan voters make their own decision on which Republican they want to choose to represent them in the Senate, Mitch McConnell decided that he didn't respect their decision, and so he was going to try to influence it, spending dollars to attack Republicans. And that is also what he did in the Republican primary in Arizona, trying to stop Kari Lake's ascension. These old guard neocon fossils are the ones holding the party back. It's not Donald Trump, but they continue to pretend as if they're the strength within the party. Take a look at this tweet and how poorly it aged from Mitt Romney, the person most responsible for Senate GOP momentum and likely majority, Mitch McConnell. He personally raised the hundreds of millions of dollars that evaporated the Democrat lead in swing states. Speak softly, carries a big stick. Yeah, that didn't really age well now, did it? You mean like how Mitch McConnell's backed super PAC defunded the New Hampshire race with $5.6 million in mid-October, sending that money to Alaska? The problem in the GOP is a problem within. It's the divisiveness, the infighting, and the sabotage that continues. And following the money money is the greatest indicator. But of course, as Ted Cruz and Mark Levin are exposing, Mitch McConnell is trying to ram through a leadership vote before the Senate runoff in Georgia. Ted Cruz writes, "It makes no sense for the Senate to have a leadership election before the GA runoff. We don't yet know whether we'll have a majority, and Herschel Walker deserves a say in our leadership. Critically, we need to hear a specific plan for the next 2 years from any candidate for leadership." Mark Levin quote retweets, "McConnell is plotting to ram through a leadership vote before the GA runoff. This is how McConnell operates. Ted Cruz urges a delay, as do Hawley, Rubio, Johnson, and Lee. And so all this serves is to further divide and anger the base. Republican voters are sick of a Republican establishment that does not represent them. How are you supposed to motivate your base if you actively sabotage their interest? And after sabotaging your own party, you continue with your great plan that you think is so slick and sly that people can't see it, but people see right through it, sabotaging elections, and then blaming it on the leader of the party. Mitch McConnell's not the leader of the party, Donald Trump is. That is a simple fact, and most Republican voters will agree. Yet not only does Mitch McConnell sabotage the elections, but then he launches an all-out assault on the #1 Republican leader that voters want to represent them. I mean, what an insult to your intelligence. It's a Trump problem. We gotta get rid of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is deeply unpopular. Even though Donald Trump is the most popular Republican politician alongside of Ron DeSantis. Donald Trump is more popular than all of the top Democrat and Republican leaders, from Chuck Schumer to Nancy Pelosi and especially Mitch McConnell. In fact, the ironic part is the Mitch McConnell faction that tells you Donald Trump is so deeply unpopular. Well, if we actually look at the data, the title of least popular politician, Mitch McConnell is the least popular U.S. senator, while his chief whip is best liked, new survey reveals. In fact, Democrat Joe Manchin is more popular with Republicans than Mitch McConnell is. Mitch McConnell's total approval rating, or total favorability rating, with Americans is 18%. Yet that's the guy that's telling you that Donald Trump is the problem because Donald Trump is so deeply unpopular and alienating voters. You know, if anything, the lack of Donald Trump and the mere existence of Mitch McConnell is more likely to be the issue here. But of course, the GOP sabotage continues. Now they're trying to pit Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump against each other, and of course both factions of voters against each other as well. They're causing more havoc instead of just letting things play out naturally. You know, if Ron DeSantis wants to run and Donald Trump endorses him, that would probably be best case scenario. But instead, they're turning it into a fight. But you know, I don't get the logic of the GOP leadership. They're trying to oust Donald Trump from the party. What do you think that's going to do to staunch Donald Trump supporters? You think that's going to motivate them to vote for you in the next election season? If you do that, it's going to be the greatest Republican defeat, embarrassment in modern history. I don't get the strategy here. The #1 priority needs to be the will of the voters. And to be honest, that probably starts with getting rid of Mitch McConnell. And if old Turtle Mitch rushes through a Senate leadership vote and somehow through his influence installs himself as GOP leader once again, usurping the will of the voters, oh boy, 2024 is going to be a heck of a mess. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.